So recently I made a video on the 2024 OTB Open Phase 2 discs by MVP, and in that video I showed off a disc called the Axiom Vanish. I said something about this disc in this video, and after I said it I thought to myself, people are going to get confused. What I said was, this disc has flight numbers of 11.5, -32, but honestly guys, it flies more like an Innova Wraith. Now mind you, the Innova Wraith's flight numbers are 11.5, -13. Sure enough, within a day of posting the video, I got a comment asking, the -32 Vanish flies like a -13 Wraith? And I'm glad he asked that question because I've been wanting to do a video on this topic, so thank you. So what we're going to do today is take a look at the current situations for flight numbers, some of the assumptions we make, the problems we come across, and what potential solutions exist. So if it's your first time here, guys, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we're going to dive right in. So the current flight rating system we have right now is awesome, right? The unique characteristics of the disc are broken down into 4 easy-to-understand categories, all with specific quantized metrics that help relay intended flight characteristics of the disc to the disc golfer. Well, that all sounds great, so what's the issue? It's commonly assumed that flight numbers or flight ratings are part of a universal system in which all manufacturers follow specific guidelines and scientific processes to achieve undeniably accurate flight numbers. But is this the case? Well, I hopped on Google, did a bit of research, and naturally I landed on Innova's website where I found this. So here we are on Innova's website, and you can see we're in their flight rating system where they kind of describe what's going on here. They give descriptions of what each one of the categories are for the flight numbers, and that's not necessarily what this video is going to be about. If I do a video about what flight numbers mean in the future, I'll be sure to link it up above. And if you're looking for that information, I recommend coming here. Innova does a pretty good job of letting you know what's going on. But the place I want to pay attention to is right here. So flight ratings can be used to compare Innova golf discs to each other. All right, it's pretty straightforward. Other companies have adopted a similar system, but it's important to note that flight ratings shouldn't be used to compare discs between brands, since each company rates discs differently. Now basically what they're saying here is that they came up with this flight rating system a long time ago, and other companies liked it, so they started doing something similar. But they're not doing it the exact same way Innova's doing, so there's going to be some inconsistencies. You know what I mean? But Innova's coming right out and telling you that flight numbers should not be compared between brands, which is huge. And that's not coming from me, that's coming from Innova, which is one of the oldest and largest disc golf companies on the planet. So this is why you can get 2 discs from 2 different companies that have the same flight numbers that fly completely different. Now it's important to say that this isn't always the case. Sometimes a company is intentionally trying to copy another company's disc, which is really the ultimate form of flattery. As our sport grows and bigger companies and bigger fan bases start moving in, they're going to expect a certain amount of consistency, which they should. Currently, these flight ratings can be very confusing to the average consumer. And I have a perfect and recent example of this. So I want to start off by saying that I am not trying to throw shade on any specific companies or discs. I'm just pointing out things that I see as a disc golf retailer. I actually think that this disc right here is going to be a great driver for a lot of disc golfers out there. I recently did a disc breakdown video on the Latitude 64 Royal Grand Strive that I will link up above that you guys can check out if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this disc. So Latitude 64 posted this image or advertisement when they released the Strive. There is some wording on this image that caught my attention and the attention of others as there were comments pointing this out. So let's read what Latitude 64 wants us to know about this disc. So up here in the top left, you got designed for max distance. I agree with that. This is a distance driver. Underneath it, it says understable and great glide. And looking at the parting line here, which we will get back to later, I would agree that this is an understable disc. On the bottom right here, they're talking about the Next Edge and Next Feel technologies for smooth grip. And yeah, they feel pretty good. But the thing that caught my attention here is the flight numbers. We got 13.5, -13. Now remember over here on the bottom left, it says understable and great glide. And then they give you the flight numbers 13.5, -13. Now I wouldn't really consider 13.5, -13 to be an understable disc. When you're talking about like an Innova Boss or a Discraft Nuke, like these are big arm, power over stable discs, so really the only way you can consider something like that to be understable is if you have like an elite level power. So things like this can be confusing for consumers, especially if you're new to the sport. So what do we do about this? There is somewhat of a solution. It's not perfect, but it is universal. It brings in the physical characteristics of stability. What is it that truly determines the stability of a disc? It's something commonly referred to as parting line height, or PLH. The parting line of the disc is where the two halves of the injector mold separate to release the disc. This can be easily identified as the outermost point of the disc. We then determine how high that parting line is relative to the overall height of the disc. The closer the PLH is to the top of the disc, the more overstable the disc is. The closer the PLH is to the bottom of the disc, the more understable the disc is. Simple, right? Here are a couple examples of the extreme opposite ends of the spectrum. On the left here we have the Discmania Tilt, which is probably the most overstable disc ever made. You can clearly see here that the parting line is almost to the very top of the disc. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, here we have a Viking Discs Berserker, which has the parting line almost to the bottom of the disc, which is going to be one of the most understable discs that you can get. Most discs are going to fall kind of in between these two. So knowing what we now know, we can go back to the Latitude 64 Strive and take a look at the parting line. We can see that the parting line on this disc is pretty low. It's definitely on the bottom half of the disc, which would suggest that it's understable. And now going back to the question about the Axiom Vanish and the Innova Wraith. We can see here, Axiom Vanish on the left, Innova Wraith on the right, they have very similar parting lines. So I think it's very safe to say that these are comparable discs and should fly similar. So what can we do about this? How can we achieve consistency in flight numbers across the entire industry? Well, we would need a third-party organization that's reputable and capable of producing accurate and repeatable results through scientific process. Disc golf companies are already sending their discs to the PDGA for approval. Now, the PDGA may not have the resources to start such a project, or maybe they do, I don't know. But if they could provide us with a PLH metric along with all their other specifications, something like PLH divided by overall height, this would give us a PLH percentage which we could use to accurately predict stability. If this is something we want to see in the industry, then it's something we need to talk about more, and we need to let manufacturers know that it's something we want to see, for a higher level of legitimacy. Thanks for sticking around to the end, guys. You're truly awesome. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Is this something you care about? Is this something you don't care about? Either way is cool. And as always, guys, be cool, stay safe, have fun out there.